Welcome to Why Live Today. I'm Brett, your host. This weekly series is about freedom from addiction and loneliness. So what is the source of freedom for addiction and loneliness? A good place to start is by asking why about the different approaches that we take to get that freedom. It was really ironic when I was standing under the Belmont roller coaster in San Diego in my 20s, and a guy said to me, "I just wish I could cut off this desire completely." Initially I was like, whoa, that's radical just to completely cut it off. But then I realized we all feel that way when we feel out of control and in pain or doing things we don't want to do, but we just keep doing them. Think about addiction and freedom, and then consider the approach of this Greek mythological story. Odysseus and his crew have to sail through siren-infested waters. Sirens, for those who don't know, are these mythological creatures that would draw sailors into the rocks or into the water and kill them. Sailors would be captivated by the sound of the sirens, the siren call. Mole says that that's why he sticks with being under the ground, not in the water or on the water. But for Odysseus, Mole, he did come up with a game plan. His game plan was this. Hey, he told his crew, tie me to the mast of the ship. He wanted to hear the siren sounds because apparently they were the most beautiful sound in the world. And then he said, but whatever you do, I'm your commanding officer, do not let me go. And for you guys, I want you to take candle wax and put it into your ears so you don't hear anything at all, so you're not tempted. So cut it off, the approach. So they sail through, the crew does what he says, he screams, he rises, the sirens start up, and he just was trying to do everything in his power to get to them. But his crew does not release him. They sail through, and they all survived. Is this approach successful? Consider the crew and consider Odysseus. So here are 4 approaches in light of this story. You can cut it off, you can chuck it, you can chain it up, or you can channel it into something else. So think about the crew that put the candle wax in the ears. They were cutting off this external source out there. We can also try the internal source as well. We can also chuck it. Just get rid of the boundaries, any kind of controls, everything. Just cut loose and just go for it. Dive in. Let that desire just run rampant towards whatever. And that's what would have happened if the crew or Odysseus didn't put those measures in place. They would have just dove right into the waters. Or you can chain it up like Odysseus, who tied himself to the mast, put measures in place that don't allow you to just hurl headlong into whatever that thing is, that addiction. Or you can channel it into something else.
That glove is channeling enough energy to light up a continent. I'm telling you, you're in no condition. What do you think is coursing through my veins right now?
Cheese whiz?
Lightning. Yeah.
But the key question here is what is that something? And we'll talk about that more in the next video. All of these approaches can be helpful, but they cannot become the big why. If these approaches become the truth or the big why of your life, then they become a big lie. Hey, that rhymed.
No more rhymes now, I mean it!
Anybody want to feel it?
Yeah!
The approach itself can never be the end-all be-all. Listen to this quote. These rules may seem wise because they require strong devotion, pious self-denial, and severe bodily discipline, but they provide no help in conquering a person's evil desires. These approaches that were meant to give us freedom actually end up taking away even more freedom. Consider these examples. In the following movie scene from The Matrix, Cypher, one of the characters, has decided that he just wants to chuck it. He doesn't want to deal with reality anymore, so he's going to dive headlong and plug himself back into a prison for his mind called The Matrix.
You know, I know this steak doesn't exist. I know that when I put it in my mouth, The Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. After 9 years, you know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss.
Another example, over 2,000 years ago, there's a man at a pool called Bethesda in Jerusalem, and he's approached by Jesus, who asks him this question: do you want to be well? His response isn't yes. His response is actually focused on an approach he's been doing for decades that hasn't worked, but he gives reasons or excuses as to why it hasn't worked. But he doesn't focus or look at what Jesus is really asking him and answer that directly. So here's your exercise for this week. Reflect on the following 2 questions. We're all guilty of pursuing these approaches in different ways, in unhealthy ways. Which one do you tend to gravitate towards? Is it the cut it off, chain it up, chuck it, or channel it into something else? The second question is the question that Jesus asked the crippled man. Do you want to be well? So what about a different path that doesn't just focus on saying no or denying yourself? In the next video, we'll look at another Greek myth, Jason and the Argonauts. Alright, so go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe if you feel like it was helpful to you or could be helpful to someone you know. Place your feedback, comments below. I'll read it and I'll try to answer any questions you have. I'd also love to hear if you caught the hidden reference in this video too. Until next time, this is Why Live Today.